Hello. I hear a lot of flack online about moderates being the worst to deal with. They say they help the enemy by not following whatever action is being done by the quote-unquote good side. What I'm going to say comes from an honest place, so if you feel I'm wrong, just respectfully say why, and if I feel it's logical, I'll try to reassess. I'll tell you now why I think those who hate dealing with moderates are tunnel-visioned. The basis of where this comes from is the understanding of how easily we could be each other. You should know that no matter what country you were born in, you were lucky and unlucky depending on different things. If you've ever felt jealous or sympathetic for someone's starting point, then you can comprehend how random your experience is. The other core of the logic comes from recognizing that you personally have made mistakes in your life. This isn't a shame, obviously, it's reality. Of course I have, everyone has, it's human. The moral grandstanding of the modern day and the refusal of believing that people are more than their past mistakes is depressing and empty. It screams of a lack of life experience. So now I've given you the underlying reality, let's talk more specifically. The thing with politics is generally those who feel strongly about their ideals do actually believe that their way is the right way to improve society. The reason why it gets so toxic is because they believe the other side is evil because they're keeping them from getting things done that will actually help people. This matters, and over my time, I've heard the same arguments used on opposing sides against each other. One, for example, is the demonization of corporations, and similarly, the demonization of big government. Both use fear to make a point of why the other is good. You hear all the time that we can't trust those selfish rich people because all they see as important is profit. Similarly, you hear how much the government is just self-interested in just growing its own power without doing anything that the people actually want. Now that sounds like a lacking comparison at first, but added is even the positives they say of government, that are the same as the ones used for corporations. Libertarians constantly say that the free market will take care of the needs of the people the best, because the people get a direct choice in what succeeds with what they buy, the power of the dollar. But if you look at the democratic election, the same logic applies. Government officials will serve the people's needs the best if they hope to be elected, since the election is a direct choice of the people by their votes. It ends up boiling down to the same thing. So that's interesting. The basic arguments for pro and anti-government follow the same logic path. Another thing I've heard a lot of is when it comes to communism. Most supporters say, well, real communism has never been tried, so you can't say that it would fail. It's interesting because they say this to people in the US trying to sway them away from capitalism, when the US doesn't even have full or real capitalism either. We have tons of regulations and governmental interference that keeps it from being, quote-unquote, pure. It nulls their argument quite a lot, since it lacks awareness of the current landscape and how it affects their reasoning. So fear of a power imbalance and bright-eyed idealism fuel both sides. I've come to feel that no matter what system we went with, there would be problems, but as long as the masses were good-hearted, it would end up being more or less okay in the end. However, you obviously shouldn't just rely on blind faith, since the slyest person in the room isn't always guaranteed to be good-hearted. It's a roll to die. Therefore, it's extremely important to set up rules to keep things from getting carried away by a crazy cult of personality that might show up, right? That is the exact inner reason why people are moderates, whether they realize it or not. The idea shouldn't be that, well, we need a complete change to blank ideology so then everything will be good, because it won't be. There will always be selfish people out there who don't care about their fellow man, and that will lead to problems. Also, man isn't perfect, so what you should do is be more practical, and find ways you can actually help people around you. That's real progress. Alright. If a person grows up with nice people who have an ideology, they will likely adopt it without critically thinking. You shouldn't preemptively take that as evil or dumb if you disagree. To change someone's mind, you first have to know where they're coming from. If you can't even attempt to relate to them, then you will never be able to convince anybody. And yeah, a lot of people don't want to be convinced, but that's on them. It's up to you to be reasonable enough to attract the people who are, what? Yes, the ones who are moderate to the position and are willing to be swayed. Just a small tip real quick, I recommend looking at how existentialism and culture nurture their beliefs, and try to talk to them in a human way when trying to convince somebody. You won't succeed every time, I won't lie to you. It's a rare quality to be mature enough, to be able to critically think and remove yourself from importance enough to see another side. Regardless, it's better to be able to show them the error of their ways than forcing yourself onto them. I'm not saying that every opinion is valid, obviously people say nonsense all the time. But that often comes from immaturity and looking past oneself, or simply a lack of anyone they trust who's ever challenged their views. In conclusion, a moderate position understands that society will never be perfect, and can easily swirl out of control. A fair criticism is that they keep progress from happening, but my suggestion is to not see how they're stopping it, but how you can work to make your side more appealing. Starting in smaller steps is far more effective than going off with pure and absolute doctrine, because nothing is absolute. And through small but real steps, it's shown that it's a safe path instead of dictating big leaps of faith for them to take. I know I can probably come off as a know-it-all dickhead or whatever. If you think that, feel free to let me know, it's fine, doesn't bother me. However, I do believe that if you actually are trying to understand someone, then you can. Most people don't try enough, or are incapable because no one ever showed them how to try to listen. And don't get me wrong, just because you understand someone doesn't mean they'll be someone you want to be around. Some people aren't worth the time, but some are, and it's foolish to block them out before you've even tried. Life is hard. Try to love each other, because quite frankly, if you don't, you'll end up not loving yourself. I don't want that for you or anyone, or me. Most importantly, make friends with people you can trust, have a good heart. Good luck and have a great day, friends. Let me know what you thought of the dumb thumbnail that I put up. Alright, peace.